All right, so it's about 20 minutes later than usual, but it's time for our weekly check-in with Dr. Isaac Bogoch, of course, infectious diseases specialist from Toronto General Hospital. Dr. Bogoch, we appreciate your time every week here. I want to start with this week. This is some encouraging seeming news. Single-digit new measles cases reported. We haven't seen case counts this low since January, so how should we interpret these numbers?
Yeah, it's great to see. A lot of this is due to the heavy lifting from the local public health units with strong community outreach to the communities impacted in southwestern Ontario, lowering barriers to vaccinations. And, this is obviously a very, very positive sign. Still, we're seeing cases of measles in Ontario that are locally acquired. We shouldn't be seeing any, but it's obviously great to see that this is winding down. I think the other thing that we have to consider, too, is, remember, this is a very transmissible infection. And the two ways to get out of an outbreak like this are, number one, vaccination, which, of course, is being done. And number two, sadly, and not ideally, people who are susceptible are getting infected and are therefore immune following infection, which we obviously don't want. But I think we have to acknowledge that thousands have been infected and have recovered from this infection. And that's also contributing a wall of immunity that is slowing down this outbreak. But really, it's a lot of heavy lifting from the local public health units. Yeah,
a lot of work done there, too. And vaccines sort of at the heart of this next, topic here. RFK Jr., head of Health and Human Services in the U.S., is stopping, Dr. Bogoch, $500 million in funding for contracts developing the next generation of vaccines and other treatments, including using mRNA technology. Now, some people might argue or say that the COVID vaccine was a standout achievement of the first Trump term. That was an mRNA vaccine, which definitely saved a lot of lives. So how worried about you in terms of not only the cut in terms of the quality of research here, but also the amplification comments like this from RFK Jr. we're going to get?
Yeah, it's a huge issue, and it's a huge problem, not just an American problem, but a global problem. There's been decades of work that have gone into mRNA vaccines, and we saw the fruits of that labor throughout the course of the pandemic, where it truly saved millions and millions and millions of lives. And not only did it save lives, it also reduced morbidity in people who had a much less severe infection as a result of it. mRNA is a very smart platform. It's adaptable, right? You can easily change what you're creating a vaccine to in a rapid manner, and you can mass produce those vaccines much easier than other vaccine platforms. The other thing is, I know we're talking about these vaccines for infections, but I think we can't ignore the significant potential for mRNA vaccines as cancer therapeutics. And I think we're only learning we're very early in our understanding of how these can be used for cancer therapeutics as well. So it's an important platform. It needs funding, and it's just time for the rest of the world, including Canada, to step up and fund this, because there's so much potential for this platform.
And that's what I wanted to sort of circle back to is, do you think, Canada has a role here in the rest of the world? Can Canada and the rest of the world kind of make up for that? It's hard to make up for $500 million in funding and research. We know it's expensive, but can it be done?
Oh, it can be done. The question is, will it be done? And do we have the leadership here to say, this is important. We have the brains, we have the technology, we have the tools to do this. Will we prioritize it? We absolutely should. We can be a leader in this field. The question is, will we choose to be?
Okay, and one other sort of, distressing story here, about vaccines. A gunman opening fire at the CDC headquarters in Georgia recently, blaming the COVID vaccine for making him depressed and suicidal. This all sort of seems related here. How did that story strike you, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, when you start to villainize and weaponize people who work in public health or medicine or science, those words have real world consequences. And that's what we're seeing. And it's awful. It's, in some places, health and science is literally and figuratively under attack. And it's pretty frightening to see something like that happen.
It certainly is. Dr. Bogoch, appreciate your thoughts as always this week. Thank you so much. We'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Thanks, Nick.